well, that was amazing. I love spending time with you. And Danielle was like, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this. And we can just keep on going and unpacking. And maybe we'll do this, like, just hang out. And we got an online video studio that we can just throw up. And because I love talking about the brain. I love talking about psychology. Again, I'm a pastor. But Patricia, thank you so much for taking time to speak to us. But you shared this graph with me, and it was like, yes, we need to kind of do like a round two and just take some time to be able to unpack this. So unpack this, because this is a big thing that I think many of us in regards to relationships struggle with, and I think it's a game changer, and some people are going to find freedom because of this.
Okay, let's look at the top of this. I have bonding up there. Another word would be a desire to have a relationship.
Yeah.
The left side, you'll see boundaries. If they're low or high. In French, we call it limits, setting a limit or a boundary. There's different words we can use. But let's look at the left, the intimacy part. And I'm not talking about sexual intimacy necessarily. I'm just talking about a well-balanced, intimate relationship that we may want with obviously our spouse or our child, our adult children, or a friend. In order to have an intimate relationship, you have to have a desire to have that relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And also, you have to have a high boundary. Like, for instance, if I talk nastily to my husband, I desire to have a relationship with him. But if I talk nastily to him or unkindly, and he accepts that, that's not good. That's not going to develop an intimate relationship between my husband and I. So he needs to say, Pat, don't talk to me like that. He has to set a strong boundary. Right? And then I have to listen to it. Yeah. The same thing and vice versa. So if with a child, if I said to my one daughter, Tracy, can't you call me more often? Yeah. She said, Mom, please don't put that on me. Don't put that expectation on me, because her husband has to call his mother every week. Yeah. And she just couldn't take that expectation. So she set a strong boundary. She said, no. Don't ask me to do that. Yeah. Well, I respected that. Yeah. And we have a great relationship. Yeah. You see, because we desire to have a relationship. So that's what I'm talking about in that one square. The bottom square, we put down fusion. Another word would be too much attachment. Yeah. That's when, like, maybe a daughter or a mother desires a very close relationship with her adult daughter. But on the left, the boundaries are weak. Yeah. Because the daughter maybe is afraid to have a different opinion. Like you'd go in a store and the mother would say, oh, I love those curtains. And the daughter looks at him and thinks in her head, oh no, I don't like those. But she's afraid to have a different opinion. Yeah. So she has very low boundaries, and it becomes a fusional relationship. Or a child who believes differently than the parent, or vice versa. You have a fear-driven relationship, which is not well balanced. Okay, so that's one. The other one, on the top right, you see isolation. You see hardly a desire to have a relationship. I have a brother-in-law. I don't want a relationship with him. He's abusive. So I kind of stay away from him. But, I mean, I can't always because I want to see my sister. But correct. The isolation can be helpful for a time, but then I've had to work through forgiveness. Correct. Honest communication, setting a limit, right? Or we'll stay in that isolation. But we don't want that. We don't want to isolate ourselves from somebody. But it means we don't have a desire for them. We don't have a desire, and there's very high boundaries. At times that's important. But then the last one is a chaotic relationship. where you have no desire to have a relationship with somebody, and there's no boundaries, so you just let it all out. It's ugly, it gets chaotic.
Yeah.
And we see that in many families today. And
Correct.
usually the pain is so great that there's separation. You divorce, I've had it, I'm out of here. So our goal in Christ, to me, we want to work on having a well-balanced intimate relationship with people in a well-balanced way.
Yeah.
With setting limits and having a desire for relationship.
Yeah.
So I think
That's so
I
good.
don't know if you
So
have
good.
any
So
questions.
where I mean, obviously you would say on the chaos
Yeah.
quadrant down here, deep, intense therapy. Or is it just
You need help.
no self-awareness?
You need help because it's so painful.
Yeah.
It's so painful. And our society is filled with it.
Yeah.
Victor Hugo said, you know, I don't know, Les Miserables, you know, the Les Miserables, the music and the play. Pups grow up. So to me, when I see chaos in families, especially when there's children, those children will grow up and they are angry. And we have a society of pups that have grown up that are so angry because they've lived in chaos in their homes, in their churches, in the society, by rejection. A lot of things cause chaos,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And that's why our society, to me, that's part of why our society is such a wreck.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're angry, they've been hurt, they're disappointed. And so we want to avoid that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need help.
Correct.
And the church should be helping people to get out of that.
And we need to
all
be
of them,
personally
isolation, too.
responsible, correct? Like, I think that's the big thing. I'm trying to drive with people, whether it's myself or family or people within, you know, the church or people that our church coaches as other churches. Personal responsibility. You can't have, I mean, I grew up in, again, as I've said multiple times, civil wars, apartheid, segregation. I was taught to be a racist, you know, and I can't blame the government. They don't care. The government of South Africa really, literally does not care. So I've got to take personal responsibility to say I grew up in an education system that had racial tendencies. It's my responsibility to encounter the love of Jesus first and that love to change my heart. And so that victim mentality, I think we need to, you know, we got to own the junk. How do we move? Because, speak to us. How do we move?
Well, we don't want to isolate. That doesn't do anything because then we keep our mouth shut. So that's where I go back to we have to step into the truth of where we're at, deal with our why we want to isolate, why I left America.
Yeah.
Why did I leave it? Why did you leave South Africa?
Yeah.
You were 19. I don't know how old you were, but isolation doesn't always solve the problem. The immediate problem, it'll help us because we don't want the pain. You know, we don't know what else to do, right? But isolation isn't always the answer. It's a temporary Band-Aid. Let's put that, but it doesn't cut out the cancer of our motivation.
Yes.
Usually.
Yeah. Is it Karen Horney, the psychologist, that said, you know, you're moving away, moving towards, or moving against. You can't always be moving away, correct? At some point, you've got to time out. I've got to deal with something I've got to deal with that trauma or that negativity that's brewing.
Absolutely. And that's why my husband and I are very big on debriefing sessions.
I was about to bring that up.
We really are.
Talk to us about that.
Well, debriefing is a time where you sit down with a person, and when I do debriefing, when my husband does debriefing with people, we may spend 4 hours with them just listening. It's not counseling. They're unpacking every point of disappointment, of trauma, especially like we were in Haiti after the earthquake. I mean, we had a lot of debriefing with pastors and Christian leaders because they were traumatized.
Yeah, I was there very soon after that too.
Right.
Tragedy.
I mean, that's a whole different, But any kind of, even debriefing after COVID, police, moms and dads, teachers, we've all been under an extraordinary pressure and fear of dying. I mean, when you have 100,000 people dying, it's a real fear. It's
Correct.
not, right?
Correct.
So debriefing sessions are so important.
Yeah.
And there's a way to do it, because if we don't name how that has affected our relationships with God, with our spouse, with our children, we're denying the reality of the effect.
Yeah.
We're not facing the truth.
Yeah.
So debriefing sessions are important, and I think we
Yes.
need training in how to do that.
Yeah.
It's
Fantastic.
listening. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I hope people are snapping a picture, getting a screen clip from this, because this is gold. Anything else that's coming to your mind as we're speaking before we close this session?
Just, I guess, the fusion part. I think that's unfair when we're not allowing a person the freedom to think and to be honest with themselves. I hear often a spouse may say, well, you can't believe that. Well, that's not quite right. They can definitely believe that. You're trying to put them in a box. And if you say that to your teenager, or if a husband says that to a wife, or if a wife says that to a husband, it's not correct.
Yeah.
They have a right to think. So, but some people are so fusional that they're afraid because they haven't given the chance to think for themselves and believe for themselves. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, fantastic.
and I think we want to have well-balanced, healthy relationships.
Yeah, this is, boy, I'm looking at that. This is, I'm overlaying this in so many different things within my life. Well, again, what a privilege, Patricia Stewart with us, and snapshot this. What is the Spirit of God speaking to you about? Hit the share button at the bottom of the screen. Hit the like. So you can stay up to date. And she's dropped a lot of things. Debriefing, maybe we do a debriefing time. We do an interview with that, and you can teach us through that and help us unpack. Because again, this is helping me. I know this is helping Danielle, my wife. This is helping us with our kids, because I'm using this filter with our kids and marriage, and the list goes on. So come on, let's continue to help people in this region. Thank you for being a part of today's time together. Blessings.